All right, hello, welcome back to the stream, everybody. Is my camera out of place again? I keep fiddling with this, but anyway, welcome back to the stream. Today we're going to be building some more content for Gunforged. But before I get into that, I want to mention that I just finished updating the Steam page for Gunforged this morning. So there's a new trailer, new screenshots, and I rewrote a bunch of the description. So yeah, I know that's not terribly interesting, but if you're so inclined, I would appreciate it if you would go and wishlist Gunforged, give the new trailer a watch, let me know what you think. I think that the new trailer is much better. Still room for improvement, but we'll probably revisit that once I have a lot more content in the game, so I have a lot more to show off in the trailer. But yeah, so everything's good to go, and now I'm ready to make the devlog that will be the follow-up to my previous devlog, which was about Gunforged. I mean, the previous devlog was a while ago. It was about Gunforged being stuck in development hell. So I think the follow-up devlog is going to be really interesting because there's a lot of things that have changed since that last devlog. So that's Gunforged there. And let's see, close all this stuff. All right, so what do we got to work on today? Well, before I get right into the work, I will go ahead and say hi to all of you. Hello, Lycor. Welcome back. I think you've been here, right? Hello, Suhid. Good to see you again. Brekek, welcome, welcome. Hello, Rin. Good to see you again. I have finished Wave 20 on my second try. Very nice. Very nice. What did you think of the experience, Suhid? Did you like it? Would you change anything? Let me know. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is doing a lot of... Oh, did I delete that? So, use stamina as health. So I tried to do this passive yesterday, this use stamina as health, and it's going to be a little bit tricky to do. It might be a good thing to work on this stream, but I'm going to do some of the easier passives first, and then come to this one because I think that would be really cool. Holding off on doing some of the bigger content this week, so I'm just going to be doing like affixes and passives for the streams this week because I have to focus on making the devlog when this stream is over. But I think starting next week, I'm going to start getting into some really interesting stuff, which is designing new bosses, designing the third level, creating new unique enemies. I think the graveyard needs at least 1 or 2 new enemy types. So it's going to be really interesting, but content is content, right? Okay, so there's one thing that I want to do here. So this passive right here, gain 2 health but lose 25% movement speed. Oh, I can mark that as done too. Oh, I can mark that as done too. Look at that. Forgot to move those over. So we'll do this one, gain 2 health but lose 25% movement speed to ease into the work this morning, and then we'll maybe do one of these next and then try to tackle this one. This one is real, like this is going to require some architecture changes, but I really do think that this is going to be an interesting one to have in the game. So I want to add it, but we'll have to see. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. And I probably want to make this one stack a couple times. Lose 50% movement speed, up to 50% movement speed. So let's do that. All right, what do I want to call this? Resource, player passive. We're going to call this one, we'll call this one Beefy. There we go. That's a good one. Beefy. All right, gain 2. Oh, this is going to be... So this has to be 2 times 0 health, but lose Let's see. So again, I need to do this. I have like my own little, it's not really a language, it's just like a syntax for parsing these formulas in here. So this is going to be 25 times 0. So in here, the parentheses or the curly braces 1 and curly braces 2 represent an area that need to be parsed, essentially. And then the pipes here, these vertical pipes, those indicate a region that needs to be evaluated as a mathematical function or formula. And then the curly braces 0 is the number of occurrences of this passive. So when you see this pipe 2 times curly braces 0 pipe, that's essentially saying, okay, within here is a mathematical function. It's doing 2 times, and then this is being replaced by the number of occurrences, which would be 1 if you have only 1. So this is going to evaluate 2 times 1, which is going to end up being 2. And then the 1 and the 2 curly braces here indicate that that needs to be highlighted in red. And so same deal over here. And I'll just do a % sign here, and that should be good. So this is going to multiply 25 by the number of occurrences and then put a % sign after that. Movement speed. Max stacks 2, no cooldown time. Loot weight, let's do 7. Feature tags. This is going to be a health feature tag. Boom. Yep. Cool. All right, now we can write the passive script. Hello, Juan. What is the best way to provide feedback? Better to keep it short or give long explanations for what I'd like to see? If you want to write long explanations, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I'm not gonna say no to as much feedback as you want to give me. So you can, in terms of where to leave it, you can either post it in the Steam forums, you could post it as a comment to a YouTube video, you could email me your feedback, admin@fireblade.com. Or you could, I mean, yeah, basically anywhere where I have any sort of presence, you can leave a comment and I will see it. How would that work, the stamina as health thing? So basically what I would do is I would set the health to 0. So you would keep your max health, but set the health to 0. So if you had 5 max health, you'd have 0 out of 5 health. And the reason is that will enable synergy with things like Berserk, which increase your damage based on your missing health. And then the stamina would simply, it would still work the way that it does, where it regenerates over time, but every time you get hit, it would decrement a stamina from you, just as it would a health, or just as it would when you dash. And then the idea is that if you take a hit while you're at 0 stamina, then you will die. So it's basically like a constantly recharging health, but also it's still your resource that you use for dashing. So I think it's going to be really interesting, but we'll see. Till level 5 it was boring, but from wave 6 onward I really started enjoying the game as enemies started using more complex attack pattern. Okay, yeah, I think that's fine, because the dungeon's supposed to be like the intro, like the first level of the easy level. So I could probably speed it up a little bit, but the idea is that arenas 2 and 3 are going to be more difficult and more engaging right off the bat, so. Regardless of what you're working on, yours is the only stream I try to catch live. I enjoy watching other coders do stuff in different ways. All good. Well, thank you, Rin. I appreciate that. Glad to have you here. I'm confused about stamina, though. Is it used for dashing? Yes. Yeah, stamina is used for dashing. Felt a lack of indicator. Okay. I can make the... I could try to think of ways to make that stamina more yeah, because the stamina is underneath the player, and there is like a recharge animation, but it probably isn't as visible as it could be or as obvious as it could be. So I'll definitely give that a shot and see if I can make that better. But let's go ahead and do this beefy passive now. Beefy passive. Beefy passive. So that needs to extend player passive. I don't need any of this. Okay, public override void ready. So this protected override, what is it called? Increment occurrences. Is this being called after it gets added to the child or to the tree? Let's see. Yes. Yes, okay. Stack added. Okay, here we go. Protected override void stack added. So I don't even need the ready method here. Okay. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to say var player is equal to this dot get player. Player dot, well, we'll say if player is equal to null, return player dot health component dot set max health, player dot health component dot max health plus 2. Okay, so that's going to add 2 to the max health, but then we're going to set the velocity component. So player dot velocity component dot add speed percent modifier. We're going to do name of beefy passive for the name, and then the change is going to be negative 0.25 times occurrences. So the reason that I need to do a multiplication there is because this is a dictionary of speed percent modifier. So whenever the stack gets added, I just want to increment the health by 2 each time a stack is added. But when I'm setting the speed percent modifier, I need to account for the number of occurrences here. So since this can stack up to 2 times, you should be able to get 4 health, but then lose 50% movement speed. And let's see if that works. So save that. Let's run it. I saw one review yesterday of someone saying the main character looks like someone on crack. Yeah. Yeah. I do too. Like, a lot of people are saying like the main character is not attractive, or I don't really like the main character. It's like, I mean, that's kind of the point. The point is that the main character kind of subverts what you typically expect the main character to be. Like, literally no one plays as like a cracked out old person, old guy. And I think that it's just like, it's like a wizard who has hit rock bottom. I just think that's hilarious. Now, maybe the problem is that I just haven't like really gone in on that enough. Like, I haven't made it obvious that this is like an intentional choice. And so maybe there's some ways that I can alter the player's design a little bit more, but in the direction of him being just like crazy, you know? Because maybe it's just that people just don't understand that, and it's just not thematically strong enough, you know? That's the thing I was thinking about yesterday. I'm like, I'm not really like, I've got a lot of goofy elements into this game, but I don't think that I'm really leaning into the goofiness of the game. And so I think I'm going to change that. I think I'm going to, for lack of a better word, just like really capitalize on like the meme worthiness of this, and just like take things to maximal goofy while still trying to be engaging. Like, I want the game to be just like a joke of a game, but I feel like there's kind of a mismatch right now where there are some things in the game that are like serious, but like other things that are just completely off the wall goofy, and I want to bring everything more in line with goofy rather than serious. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna try to take that frame of mind as I'm adding new content, and I may even revisit some of the old content and whatnot. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, make the enemies more thematically goofy, right? Things like that. He looks like a strong male role model, yes. Well, that other game has a potato as the main character. Yeah, exactly, yeah. That Brotato. Yeah, Brotato is a weird one because Brotato is goofy, but it doesn't... I guess I would say Brotato doesn't really lean... into the goofiness necessarily. Like, I think the aliens, like the alien enemies, are pretty straightforward in that game. It is goofy that the main character is a potato, but a lot of the weapons are relatively straightforward and stuff, so I'm not knocking Brotato, by the way. I think Brotato is a fantastic game. Also, this bug is annoying me. That color should not be yellow, but oh well. Oh well. Anyway, what am I doing? Add passive beefy. Ooh, look at that. I'm so much slower now, but I'll look at my health. And if I add another one, oh my goodness. Wow. But the point is that I can also get things like, what are the other passives called? Quickness. It's just called movement speed. Add passive movement speed. So I can get movement speed back. So like I could collect 3 of these, for instance. So the idea is that you'd only really want to take 2 stacks of this one if you're already zooming around the map and you don't really feel like you need that much movement speed. And I could also add, what is the tagurate called? What is that called? Movement speed buildup. And then I could add that again. So there we go. So now, even though I'm losing 50% movement speed here, I've collected these quicknesses and also this one, and now I'm back to like a normal speed, but I have all of this health now too. Also, I should probably heal the player. Let's see. Max health passive. Oh, heal, okay. Player.health component.heal 2. Maybe I'll knock this down just a little bit. Hello, Eric Grove Art. How has the feedback been so far? I haven't gotten much feedback yet. I got one that said the main character looks like a crack addict, which we were just discussing. I got some good feedback, a couple of good comments. I think the feedback is largely kind of, if I had to classify the feedback so far, it would be that the game feels good to play. It gets a little bit chaotic. One person said that the chaos was good, and another person said that it was, or implied that it was not good, or that it was a problem. And then, yeah, I think I got some comments around some of the weapon parts not feeling impactful, which is a problem that I'm aware of, so I need to think about that as well. But I would say that I haven't gotten any feedback that indicates that the game is fundamentally flawed, just mostly feedback that there's a lot of improvement that can be made, which I agree with. So it's going to be quite a couple of months here while I grind away trying to get this into good shape, but I'm feeling good about it. Okay, what am I doing? Add passive beefy. Why did that say only +1 HP? That's not right. Regular expression. This is wrong. This needs to be plus. Heal received HP. Okay, let's try this again. You can't get rid of the old demo feedback and make it more visible. It's from the old version. Well, what I did is I locked the old demo feedback thread in Steam. So it's still visible, but it just can't be posted to. But that's fine. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, I took your course on Udemy, the best course on Godot. Create a complete 2D Survivors game in Godot 4. Well, thank you. Zargurus? I don't know how to say the first half of your name, but thank you, Zargurus. I appreciate it. I'm very glad to hear that you enjoyed it. And you got a lot of value out of it. Okay, add passive beefy. There we go, +2. So that reduces my movement speed by 20%, and then I can add another one. And now I'm going at a crawl. I mean, hey, if you want to move this slowly, I mean, it's possible, right? You could stack this, and you could also have... what is it called? Max stamina. So if you had a bunch of stamina too, you could make do with this low of health, especially if you've got a lot of healing. And yeah. Okay, well, that's the passive. I think I'll leave it in place because what happens if I add more? Huh. So there's like a... Ooh. Ooh. Oh. I'm going into the negatives in terms of my movement speed bonus, which is causing my inputs to be reversed, and also I'm going really fast. That should never happen, so I'm not going to worry about that right now, but that is something to keep in mind, I suppose. All right. So I'm going to call that one good. And I'm not really playtesting these right now. Like, there's been 3 passives that I've made that I haven't played the game with yet. And the reason is because I'm just going to make these work. I'm going to make them functional. And then I will see how they play later on. I'm going to add a bunch of content first and then do a playtest in earnest. And then note things down that need to be tweaked and just go from there. I think that's just going to be the most efficient way to do it. So add beefy passive. All right, let's see what the next one we should do is. Enemies that die from poison damage over time explode. Every 40 stacks of poison applied creates a burst that spreads poison. I think this one's going to be interesting. So the key thing about this one is that the enemies have to die from the poison damage tick and not a bullet impact. And so I think that this has the potential to slightly change your playstyle. So let's go ahead and do this one. Let's create a new passive. Player passive resource. Oh, the other thing that I want to do before I forget is add... did I add this? Hold on. Add demo flag to content. Yeah, so let's do this. Add ability to specify content that will be excluded from the demo build. So I don't want to expose all of the potential content to the demo, because like when I go to release the full game, I will be updating the demo just so that it has all of the latest like quality of life changes and everything. But obviously the full game is going to have tons of content compared to the demo. So I want a way of basically like locking content so that it's not available in the demo. And that should be relatively easy, but I need to architect something for that. I need to build something for that. Okay, so for this one, this is enemies explode when they die from poison damage. Okay, this is going to be... What is this going to be called? I'm just going to call this, for the ID here, poison explosion. Or no, let's see. Yeah, let's do poison explosion. Title. I need a clever title for this one. Well, let's write the description first. So this description is going to be enemies that die from poison's damage over time explode. Dealing, what's a good number here? Let's do 30%. I guess this could be a stack too, so 30 times 0%. Nearby enemies. Let's do a max stacks of 2, no cooldown time. This is going to have the poison flag on it. And the loot weight, we'll keep that at 10. That seems like a reasonably common one. What are we going to do for the title here? Let's do something like... like I said, I don't want to do something serious. I want to kind of lean into the goofiness of every aspect of the game here. So I need a clever title. But let's just, I'll think about that. Maybe something will come to me. Just put an X there so it's obvious that it needs to be changed. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a tricky one. So I need to create a new scene. This is called Poison Explosion. Poison Explosion passive. Okay, let's add a script. Oh, I should save it first. Scenes, component, passive, boom. Scripts, create. Game.component.passive. Okay, so now I need to figure out, so the tricky thing is that I don't have any gameplay events or game event system that notifies me whenever like a passive or a status tick happens. So if I go to my poison status in here, what's happening is that when the timer times out, it will calculate the damage, and the tick base damage is based on the damage per second of the gun stats that have hit, and that is going to just go ahead and delete, or not delete, that's going to go ahead and poison status, base status. Yeah, that's just going to go ahead and damage the health component, but I don't have a way of knowing like what specifically killed the enemy. So if I go to damage here, it will subtract the current health, and then when the current health changes, so I've got a setter in here that whenever the current health is changed, it does just grabs a bunch of numbers for me, but then in here it will emit the died signal. But the thing is, I don't have a way of knowing what killed the enemy. So there might need to be some reworking of some things in here. It would be really useful to know what precisely killed the enemy. So I'm thinking about creating like a generalized solution that just creates a notification for what specific damage source killed an enemy. But the tricky thing is, how do I do that in a way that's sort of like minimally invasive? That's the thing, right? So that's gonna be a little bit tricksy. What I would need potentially is in this damage here to have some sort of damage source. Let's think about, maybe there's a more creative way I can do this. So, how's health remaining? Yeah, this is tricky. So, I mean, what I could do, so there's a very easy approach, which I could do here, which would be something like this. It would be like, so deal the damage here, then check if the entity has died as a result of this application of damage. Send a game event if so. So it'd be something like that. That would be the easy thing to do. But the problem is that I want to ideally make this system as generic and sort of like, I don't know, touchless as possible, to use an analogy. Like, once I implement this system, it just works for any status that I would do. And I think that the way to do that, so there's a couple ways I could approach that. I could create some sort of generic method in my base status class here that basically gets called by every status, and that is responsible for applying any sort of the tick logic. Because each status has a concept of how many stacks it can have, which means, like, as the stacks increase, the status will change in a certain way. So for instance, as the oil stacks increase, the monster that's affected gets slowed more and more. As the shock stacks increase, the damage of the zap increases. Same for the poison. As poison increases, the damage over time increases. I'm going to change this. But there are some interesting ones like bleed status, which as the stacks increase, it actually applies some kind of damage transformation to the bullets that hit the bleeding enemy, because bleeding enemies take more damage. So up to 100% more damage based on how many bleed stacks you have. So I think I'm tempted to just take the easy way right now, but I don't really feel good about that. The other way I could do this is I could just make it a very specific event. So instead of going in the direction of generic, I can go in the direction of specific. So instead of trying to make this a generic like, oh, enemy died from X, I could just create a very specific notification that says, hey, the enemy died from poison damage. Now, that's going to potentially get unwieldy as I want to support more of that kind of thing, but that may be the most straightforward way of doing it. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of wrong ways to do this. Not very many right ways to do it. Yeah, I think if I wanted to be notified of what exactly killed the enemy, I would have had to build that into the game much earlier. So I think I'll take the simple approach for now, which is to create a very specific game notification. And I'll think about reworking that if I have more than one instance where I need to notify that a certain thing has killed an enemy. But I think that this is going to be the most straightforward thing to do for this case. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to my game events here. And this is actually going to be relatively straightforward. Entity died event. So this is coming from the health component. Okay. Okay. So let's do this. Var health component is equal to this. Health component dot damage. Okay. If health component. Now I need to know if the health component is actually dying here. Has died equals true. So this has died. I'm going to change this to be public. Well, let me think about that. I'm going to create a method for this, actually. Do I have like an is dying in here? Okay, is dying, return has died. Okay, so that's just going to be very specific. So if health component dot is dying, then I can do my game event in here. I think what I'll do is, let's go to my game events here. Signal public delegate void entity died from poison. Event handler, and I'm just going to pass in the entity died event, or I'm just going to create an entity died event here. Like so. Emit entity died. Public static void emit entity died from poison. Entity died event. Instance dot emit signal. Signal name dot entity died from poison. Yeah, so this is gonna be a fine solution for now, I think. All right. So now in here, game events dot emit entity died event. Or no, emit entity died from poison. I guess I should. Why is this called I'm just gonna, this is the only one that has event in the name, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay. Emit entity died from poison. New entity died event. And what do I need in here? I need tree and entity. Tree equals get tree. Entity is equal to health component dot owner as node 2D. All right, that should be fine. So now in my poison explosion passive, what I'll do is public override void ready. And in here, game events dot instance dot connect, game events dot signal name dot entity died from poison, callable dot from entity died event on entity died from poison. On entity died from poison, entity died event. Okay, so we're all good there. So now, what was the description that I wrote here? I spelled poison wrong again. Damage over time, explode dealing, 30% weapon DPS to nearby enemies. Okay. So now the gun stats here actually, I might need that gun stats. Oh, that's last applied gun stats. Okay, this is getting a little bit tricky. So I'm storing a copy of gun stats in here, but that's just automatically being applied whenever apply is called. Apply internal gun stats. So I think I could probably, oh man. Here's what I'll do. Is that being duplicated in base stats? Yeah, gun stats dot duplicate. So what I'm gonna do in here then is on the poison itself, I'm gonna do private gun stats, gun stats. So what's happening in here basically is that, let's say that I have two guns that apply poison. The poison is based on the weapon DPS. And for player experience reasons, what I did is I made it so that if you have an enemy that's poisoned, but then you shoot the enemy with poison from a weaker gun, it maintains the higher damage. So you're not going to accidentally like make your damage go lower. Now, I could just say that's completely unnecessary and just use the damage according to whatever the weapon you hit them last with is. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. So what I need to do is I need to maintain sort of like the biggest, the most damaging gun stats here. Or I could just get rid of this. Yeah, I don't even know if this is necessary. Maybe I'll just get rid of that, because then that would greatly simplify things, because I'm already storing a last applied gun stats here, which is basically just the gun stats that were last applied. So maybe I will get rid of that. Just say, well, the poison damage is just going to be based on the weapon that you hit the enemy last with. So I think, yeah, that will that's probably what I'll do. That's just going to simplify my life a lot. Hello, Vishal. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. Hello, Neozoid. The demo was fun. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any suggestions for me, Neozoid, or do you like the game as is? Do you just want more? More of the same. More content. What is the difference between public variable and an export var? So an export var is Godot's way of exposing something through the editor, so you can edit it from within the Godot editor. And you can still have so a public variable within like a C# class is something that can be accessed from anywhere in the code, so you can just reach into the class and change that value. But you could use a combination of a private member with an export annotation on it, or what is it called? Attribute, which will make the property editable through the Godot inspector, the Godot editor, but then when the game is running, so at runtime, you won't be able to change that value from a script. So that's the main difference. Controller support first. Yeah, I have to do that. We'll see. See if I have time. Export really helps with Godot composition too. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, being able to export like node paths and stuff. Hello, Christopher. Ready for Thanksgiving? I am. It's going to be fun. Okay, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this. Tick base damage is equal to gun stats. Dot damage per second. Why is this even being passed the gun stats, I wonder? This seems unnecessary to me. So I'm going to make this change here. So now the reason I'm doing that I'm going to get rid of this. So I had some kind of warning there about not being able to access gun stats on the entity died event, but now I do have entity died event gun stats, so I'm going to be applying that. So last applied gun stats, damage per second, so in here, gun stats, last applied gun stats dot duplicate. Okay. So now in my poison explosion, now I can do this. So that was a lot of setup to get here, but let me build and make sure everything's still good. What will gonna be on Thanksgiving? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, Neozoid. Do you want to rephrase? I don't know, maybe I'm just... Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. So I gotta fix all these places that I broke now by changing that method. Oh, the food. I see what we're gonna have for Thanksgiving. Typical stuff. Probably turkey, pumpkin pie, that sort of thing. Cranberry sauce. Okay, it looks like we got one more place to fix this. There we go. All right. Now that all of that has been fixed, I love that strategy. Just keep building and letting the errors surface and then just fix them. All right, cool. So with all that out of the way, now I can go to my poison explosion. On entity died from poison. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the entity and we're going to say var damage is equal to entity died event gun stats dot damage per second, default it to 0. Times 0.3 times, why am I, oh, I gotta make this extend player passive, there we go. Now I can do times occurrences. So there's a damage. Var spawn position is equal to entity died event dot entity dot get first. First node of type. Why is this not working? Global position. Otherwise, we'll use the entity died event dot entity dot global position. Okay, so now I can do this. Var, well, let's do this. New circle explosion dot circle explosion builder. And we're going to do the node. I forgot how this works. This dot get base level dot foreground. Spawn position is spawn position, float new duration 0.2f. Why is this not working? Oh, okay. Dot set damage. Damage is going to be equal to damage. Dot set thickness. Let's do 10. I don't know. Dot set color. New color. I need to find the hex code for that. Dot set. Do I need to set gun stats on it? I don't think so. Set radius. What is the radius we want to use here? Maybe 48. And then we got to call dot build on it. Okay, let's find the color. Unfortunately, the easiest way to do that is going to be to do this. Node 2D, go to my visibility here. There needs to be like a color palette panel in here. That'd be so nice because you got swatches here. I guess that could be an add-on. We'll take that color. Okay, poison explosion passive. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Share pic, please, on X. I might do that. I'll have to see. Played some more now on the demo. Two things. Have you thought about adding a reload key? Having to switch to offhand to reload feels a bit cumbersome to me. When firing a weapon, it would be cool if the main character was pushed back a bit. It would help make the weaponry feel more tactile. Yeah, those are interesting suggestions. None is a train smash, just adding some possible improvement conversation. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So the thing about the dual gun thing is that the reason why it works the way that it does is to force you to have to use both weapons. And I think that's important because I think part of the... So the reason why a lot of the passives and whatnot are based on the damage of your weakest gun is to put pressure on the player to make sure that both of their guns are staying up to date in terms of damage and whatnot. But then also making sure that the gun doesn't just become a stat stick by forcing the player to have to use both guns. So that's kind of why the system works the way that it does. In terms of reloading, I have to think... So what I'm hearing is that it doesn't feel good. That system doesn't feel good. That you would like more manual control over that. So I guess I don't know how to solve the problem of the player just overly relying on a single weapon, while also giving the player control over more control over their reload. What's up, Arion? Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. At first I thought it was a bug. I thought it would at least auto-reload. I see. So is it just maybe like a player education thing, maybe? Like if I just added a line in the tutorial that said, hey, shooting a gun reloads your other gun. Auto-reload delay. So are you suggesting go to auto-reload but then just delay it so that you have to wait for it to reload? That could be an interesting thing to experiment with. So maybe like a second, you have to wait 1 second after you stop shooting and then you get a full reload. So maybe it becomes more of a timing thing. What does everyone in the chat think about that? So the reload mechanics right now, a little bit awkward. I think I also got another comment on the Steam forum about the reload feeling awkward. So what does everyone think about that? So it's auto reload. You just get a full reload, but you have to stop shooting the gun that you want to reload for 1 second. So that would add kind of like more of a rhythm to it, right? So I'm shooting. I want my gun to reload, so I'm going to switch to this one. It auto reloads after a second. I can shoot this one. You like that idea? Well, maybe we can toy around with that on this stream and kind of work through it together and see how that works. What does everyone else think about that idea? Auto reload after 1 second of not using your gun. A full auto reload. One suggestion, have you thought of adding shield layer for a few seconds to the player? Helps the player to tank some damage when stuck in a corner. Areas full of telegraph as it's a wave-based game. Yeah, so the Secret Service kind of functions as that. So the bodyguards, you can get that intercept damage. I also had this idea of having shield hearts, which are hearts that count toward what did I call it? Let's see. Yeah. Shield hearts count as missing hearts for the purposes of the game and are not refillable and get destroyed once hit. So it's like temporary health that count as missing hearts for the purpose of like the Berserk passive, but then when you take damage, they just get permanently deleted. So that's an idea that I had. So I definitely hear you solo leveling. That's why I'm trying to give the player like temporary regenerating health like the Secret Service passive. But maybe like recharging heart slots would work as well. And you could choose to either swap or wait for auto reload. Yeah. I'm late. Shame on you, Tupa. I will never forgive you for this. I'm kidding, of course. Welcome back to the stream. It's good to see you. Maybe 2 seconds or maybe a passive. It may feel awkward because it's a new different mechanic. Excuse me. Yeah. I think that's why it needs to be like I need to toy around with it and see how it feels. Warframe has a reload weapon on dodge roll that you could use on an affix maybe. That already exists, actually. There's a passive where dashing reloads both your guns. But admittedly, with this new reload system that we're discussing, that passive would probably feel even better. I also found a little weird the fact of switching guns. The delay may help with that feeling. Reload on dash, yeah, that is available as a passive, but maybe you're suggesting that that's just how the dash works. Like an overheated gun, so you have to wait and use your other gun. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what the auto reload would, that's how the auto reload would work. You'd have to wait at least a second. So there's a couple of different variations. So try the auto reload after a short delay, 1 or 2 seconds, whatever it is. There's a suggestion to make the dash the main reload mechanic. So you have to use the dash to reload. I'm confident that and the gun recoil would add so much to the tactile feeling. So how would you imagine the gun recoil would work if you're moving around all the time? Would it actually alter your trajectory as you're shooting, or would it just like slow you down a bit? How are you thinking about that? Because I understand like what that would be, or are you suggesting just like only when you're standing still should it apply knockback? Let's get this passive tested. Ooh, there we go. Okay, I think that radius needs to be a little bit bigger. I'm confident that, oh, I already read that. It would help make the gun feel weighty, not physics-based, more of a visual recoil. Oh, I see. So like animate the player in addition to the gun when shooting. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely give that a shot and see what I can do there. Maybe give it some like wacky, zany kind of like cartoon effect or something. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Let's do this spawn rat here. Oops, I need to add the poison explosion. Let's add another rat. Okay. Now the tricky thing is to get these... Ooh, it worked. Nice. So that works. Let's spawn some more... Well, actually... Spawn rat 6. So that appears to be working relatively well. But if I kill a rat by just direct bullet damage, he doesn't explode. That looks good. I'm going to change that thickness, though, a little bit. Give it some more thickness with 2 C's, you know what I'm saying? Yes, exactly. I think I already responded to that animation. Sorry, I'd keep recommending WF stuff. Oh, Warframe stuff. It's also a shooter where you can mod your weapons, so I see a lot of similarities. No, yeah, for sure. Keep them coming. Keep the suggestions coming. Do you have any tips working on something for a long time? After some months, I just want to jump into another idea. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think the tip would be, if you really want to finish it, I would say cut the scope to the point where you can finish it with just like 1 or 2 months of additional effort. So That would be my suggestion. That's kind of what I'm doing with Gunforged. It's like, okay, I'm ready for Gunforged to be done. What do I need to do to bring it across the finish line? Like, it sounds bad to say it this way, but like, what is the minimal amount of effort that I need to do to bring it over the finish line? And for Gunforged, it's, okay, I need to add a bunch of new content. I need to polish a lot of the systems up. I need to do a bunch of balancing and, you know, add Steam achievements and all that stuff. And all the work that I'm doing is in service of like accomplishing those goals. So that would kind of be my advice, is like try to find a way to cut the scope to the point where you can get it done in like a month or two of work, and just try to power through that, get it done, and then see how you're feeling. Okay, let's see how thick this is now. That looks good. Nice. Yeah, liking that. Okay. I think that's good. Oh, I need to come up with a name for this. What's a good name for this? What is a good name for this? I don't know. I liked it. Nice. Are you familiar with trace rifles in Destiny? I was thinking something like a constant stream. Think a super soaker with knockback. I have not played any Destiny, but that does sound interesting. Super soaker with knockback. I think the way I'd have to accomplish that in my game is like give the gun a lot of ammo. I have the ability for bullets. I mean, all the bullets apply some knockback to the enemies. So that's an interesting idea, like for an affix, is increased like knockback. So gun affix adds a massive amount of knockback to bullets. That's a good idea. Also, the advice Billy gave me to diligence, keep working on game every day, even 15 minutes. Yes, yeah. So that's the other thing, is like discipline is really important. I like that word discipline because like a lot of people ask how to stay motivated while making games and whatnot, and I think that's the wrong question. The right question is, how do you keep working on your game even when it's not fun to do so? And that's where discipline comes in. But I don't need to go super into that, but yeah, discipline is sitting down and working on a game for 15 minutes, even if you don't want to, even if you have no motivation. Charged poison for current passive. Charged poison. Okay, for the title. Hello, Wither King. Welcome back. A freeze affix would be cool. Freeze or slow down enemy. Yeah, I have that here. So I just need to figure out how to implement that in a good way. Because the other tricky thing is like, with like bosses and stuff, I don't want to make certain affixes, like a lot of games have this problem, right? So for instance, Path of Exile 2 is a game that's coming out relatively soon, I think within like a week or two. Is it next week that it comes out? I guess it would be next week that it comes out. That's hype. But in that game, you know, you can freeze normal mobs and whatnot and apply other status effects. But with bosses, because they don't want you to perma-stun the boss, they have like a build-up meter where it's like, oh, once you hit this certain level of freeze, then the boss becomes like stunned for a couple seconds. And that's just like, I don't know, that still feels really awkward to me. I would have to, if I had a freeze affix, I would have to implement a system like that for the bosses. And make freeze behave differently for bosses than for mobs. And that just like fills me with ickiness, I don't know. I kind of wish there were guns that shoot crazy fast. The fastest guns I found were like P90 or minigun level fast. Yeah, I tried. I don't know what happened because the bone receiver was supposed to be the one that was like the P90, and I must have inadvertently nerfed it so it's no longer doing that. So I agree with you though. That is, I want to introduce I want to introduce guns that hit hard but shoot slow, and guns that hit a little bit less but shoot really fast. So basically guns that are like your status machines, right? You just pump bullets into the environment to get all of your statuses applied, and then maybe you have like a really heavy gun that shoots slow but deals like hundreds of damage per hit. And I just don't think I've done a good job of like accomplishing that with the current balancing. So I'm gonna, when I do more balancing passes, that's something I'm gonna be keeping in mind while I try to do it. Yeah, or boss is immune. That's the worst, right? You see that in MMOs all the time where it's like, yeah, you have this ability that silences and you have this ability that stuns or roots people, but doesn't work on bosses, so basically you're useless. I don't like that. Okay, I need a title. What did you say? Let's see. Charged poison. Actually, you know what? That gives me an idea. I'm not going to use exactly that. But I'm going to say... I'm going to call it bloated. Enemies that die from poison damage over time explode, dealing 30% weapon DPS to nearby enemies. So that gave me an idea. So yeah, bloated is what I'm going to go with. Thank you for the suggestion. And I'll go ahead and commit this. What do you guys think? Do you want to experiment with the reload mechanics, or do you want to see me implement more passives / affixes? What would you guys like to see? Okay. Add poison explosion passive. Okay, while I'm waiting for the response to that question, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick 2-minute break, get a refill on my drink and whatnot. So again, if you'd like to support my work, please check out the links in the description below. Wishlisting Gunforged is the best way to support me. You can also check out my Udemy courses, where I teach you how to build a complete game in the Godot engine. So please check out those links in the description below. Also, if you haven't seen the Steam page in a while for Gunforged, please look at that because I updated the trailer. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of the trailer. I try to inject more humor into it. It's still not as good as the trailer can be because I just don't have enough content to show off. So I will be updating that as we get closer to release. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go on a quick 2-minute break, and then when I come back, we'll figure out what we're doing. So enjoy the soothing tones of Lo-Fi Girl in the meantime. Okay, so one problem that I'm having with the gun parts, just to elaborate a bit, is that I want to give each gun part its own identity, which means that, for example, for the bone receiver, I want to give it like a really fast fire rate. But the problem becomes, like when I do that, there become gun parts that are just obviously better choices. So, for instance, well, yeah, I mean, that's just basically the problem. So it's hard for me to give each gun part a strength without it outshining like everything else. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to resolve that. I could potentially resolve that by just introducing more randomness into the gun parts. And so it's possible to get like a bone receiver that's much better than a different bone receiver, for instance, right? So I have to think about that some more, but I had this problem actually when I was balancing for the demo. The bubble magazine ended up being like always really, really good because of the stats that are on the bubble magazine. And the only way to resolve that is just to like nerf the bubble magazine. But I don't really want to do that because that means that you're not gonna get that one part show up that's like, oh my gosh, this is a huge upgrade, right? It kind of like homogenizes and flattens everything. So I think what I need to do is I don't know. Maybe I'll just add each stat onto each gun part and just call that good. Because right now it's like the magazine has certain stats that it contributes to the gun, and then the receiver has different stats it contributes to the gun, and so on and so forth. But maybe I just make every stat available on every gun part and make it contribute. Yeah, I have to play with that. I don't know. The problem is that then are each of the gun parts going to lose their identity, right? So it's like, is the bone receiver, which is supposed to be like the fastest shooting gun part, is that just going to become, again, homogenized with everything else because it's totally randomized? I guess one solution to that is to provide like a base number, like here's the base fire rate on it. So like each gun part has base fire rate, base damage, whatever. And some gun parts are going to have a higher base fire rate, and some gun parts are going to have a higher base damage. And then there is some randomness in that damage, that base damage, within reason. So like the gun or the bone receiver is on average always going to shoot faster than any other receiver, but because of the randomness, it's possible to get a different receiver that shoots faster than the average bone receiver, right? So this is just me thinking out loud, but I really need to do some work on that and figure that out, because as it stands right now, I feel like it doesn't really happen where you get a gun part that's like just maxed out on all of its stats and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to make me super powerful. It's mostly just like, oh, does the DPS go up? Do the rune slots go up? And maybe some of the like other stats are kind of interesting, but yeah, so I don't know. The worst was Doom Eternal, where you had to keep switching weapons or grenades for different types of mobs. Oh, yeah. Bloated is better. I'm glad you like that one, yeah. You want to test reload? Yeah, we can do that. Are you going to add grenades at any point? And if I say anything that is in the game I just haven't seen yet, my bad. Positive and negative stats. I tried an earlier iteration of Gunforged had positive and negative stats, and it didn't work well, I don't think. I think letting the random system just naturally generate something that could be considered negative, meaning that it's like a number goes down, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Because right now it's like there are some interesting choices that happen with the gun parts where you'll get a gun part that loses, like its damage goes way up, but then it loses like 1 or 2 rune slots. And that is where like the most interesting choices come in, because it's like, okay, well, I've got 5 runes on this weapon, but I can get the DPS up by 50 or 100 by sacrificing 2 rune slots. So maybe I'll get rid of these runes here and slot that in, and then that's going to give me better damage, you know? And then, yeah, regarding your question about grenades, there's a shock grenade, which is a rune that you can slot in on your gun, which will shoot a shock grenade. It has a chance to shoot a shock grenade. But anyway. All right, let's try experimenting with some gun reloading mechanics here. So I just have to work through this gun manager script here and figure out what's going on. So shift ammo is called. Okay, so if I get rid of this shift ammo. So now I shouldn't be able to reload my guns at all. Oh, I just have infinite ammo now. Okay. So I guess I need something that's inside of that shift ammo. I am not sure what's going on here. Use ammo. Oh, I see. Okay. What is all of this going on here? Okay. So use ammo is where is... Okay. So what I want to do now... Try fire. So what I want to do is I want to do use ammo here. Current slot. I'm just trying to get this set up so I can effectively test. Which I need to refamiliarize myself with this script, so... It's amazing, like, you don't touch a script for like a year. Okay, so now we don't have any reloading, but the ammo is still being used. Cool. Alright, so that's what we were looking for. Alright, so... What I need to do now is, I'm firing the gun slot, so I'm going to do this. Player gun manager. Add child node. Timer. Left reload timer. We'll keep it at 1 second for now. Okay. Left reload timer dot timeout plus equals on. Let's do this. Plus equals reload gun. Where is this being called? Dash reload pass. Okay, so I'm gonna have to clean this up, assuming I keep this, but so if we do reload gun, gun slot dot left 999 right reload timer dot timeout plus equals reload gun slot dot right 999. Okay, so now when we're calling use ammo, so this is try fire. Does start restart the timer? I forgot. Slot equals gun slot left reload timer, otherwise right reload timer dot start. Okay, is that going to be it? Did you edit your own Godot theme? I did, yeah, it's really simple. I just changed a couple colors. Just right here, editor settings. Where is it? Theme? Yeah, just the theme here. Base color and accent color. I just changed these. Which is actually a really effective way of just getting a nice looking theme. Doesn't take much effort at all. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see what happens. Sorry, I just got distracted with like a visual thing. I shouldn't be distracted by visual things. No, I did not get into the whole theme editing thing. No, that's a big thing. That looks great. How does it feel? I think whoever said it was too short was right. Yeah, Fox Shadow. I think it probably needs to be more like 2 seconds. Let's try that. 2 might be a little bit too much. I might back that off to 1 second, but let's see. Or 1.5 seconds. Yeah, 2 seconds feels a little bit long. So maybe 1.5. I could also introduce like meta upgrades that change this, but let's try 1.5. Okay, let's try it out in game and see what happens. Okay. Well, we'll do a little bit of playtesting here. I don't really have a judgment on how this is looking yet. I want to see what happens as I get different weapons and stuff. Ooh, I already have this. Okay. What's the silliest bug I've encountered with Godot? Or with Gunforged, I mean. It's a good question. Silliest bug. I think when I was developing one of the body slamming zombie turtle for the graveyard, I think there was one, because the body slamming turtle jumps into the air and then slams down at a location. While I was developing him, I think maybe I'm mistaking it with something else that I developed, but there was something I developed where I was trying to make it go in the air, and then when that code started, it would just like fly up into the sky, like it was getting abducted by an alien. That was pretty funny. Ooh, rubberized. Bullets ricochet off of enemies that are affected by oil. There we go. Let's take that one. I don't have any oil yet, but... yeah, it's feeling... I think it's feeling good. My fire rate is not very high, but... we need some kind of like visual indicator too to show. It needs to either encourage the user to switch to reduce reload delay or pay the penalty to reload without switching. I think the mental trade-off is cool, yeah. Yeah, there definitely need to be an indicator for sure. Hello, Lone Undead. Is that one of the undead or the hollowed from Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls? That's cool. I'm new to Godot. Do you have a video of how you do the shooting effect? Well, which shooting effect are you talking about? Like the muzzle flash that happens? If you're talking about the muzzle flash, then yeah, that's just GPU particles. Hello, the Red Velvet. What was the most difficult bug? Let me think. Most difficult bug. Most difficult bug. I don't know. What was the most difficult bug? Yeah, I don't know. There's been a couple, but I can't remember specifically. I'm trying to give you a good answer on that. Let me think. This gun is OP. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I think maybe I could increase the timer. Let me try 1.75, or let's try back to 2. Is that going to update? I think it did update. Nice. Let's try it with 2 for a little bit. Most difficult bug or most difficult feature to implement. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, there were a lot of difficult features. I think, you know, like the affix system, a lot of the passive stuff is difficult. I mean, most difficult. I know that there were difficult bugs. I just can't recall them at the moment. Let me see. Well, here's a difficult one. So it wasn't difficult necessarily, but I didn't realize that control left click was right click, considered right click on Mac. And so when I was testing the demo on my Mac, I was like, why is the rune cell button not working? It took me quite a while to figure that out, but that wasn't necessarily difficult. So I've had some weird bugs. Yeah, nothing necessarily that difficult. It's just some things were difficult to debug, but simple to fix. The dash refill indicator, that was probably the most difficult one. So for some reason, the dash refill indicator would just get stuck. So like the indicators under the player, and they would be completely desynced and stuck, and sometimes they would just remain permanently orange. That was maddening to fix. I finally fixed it, but the fix involves like a bunch of code that's just ununderstandable. So if I had to choose an answer for you, I'd choose that one. I'm having a lot of trouble understanding how to make good particle effects. Do you have any tips? So it depends on what kind of game you're making. If you want to make like more realistic particle effects, I don't really have any good advice for that. But if you're trying to do a pixel game, so I think the secret to good particle effects in pixel games is, or at least I didn't mean to choose that. What I'm doing here is I'm avoiding using any sort of transparency so the particle effects don't fade out. And the reason is when you're doing a very bold kind of like pixel game like this, I just don't think transparency works that well. So all of my particle effects, when they spawn, they grow from 0 very quickly, and then they fade out to 0 in terms of their scale. So that's how they come in and out of existence. In my experience, you don't want particles to just pop in at full size immediately, because that just kind of looks really jarring. So even if there's only a couple of frames over which they grow, that makes them look a little bit more natural. And then in terms of like the muzzle flashes and stuff that I'm doing, I think adding just like directionality to it is very important. So I don't know if you'll notice here, but like there's like a try shape here. There's 3 different things going on with the muzzle flash for the green. There's a particle system bursting upward, a particle system bursting downward, and then a particle system bursting out from the muzzle. And the top and bottom ones are smaller, right? But it still gives that impression of like poison gas is going out in all directions. And then the other thing is that you want to make them, for like these kind of burst things, like very short-lived. I think these only last like 0.15 or 0.2 seconds. So yeah, I think that's it. And of course, use a particle texture that has a couple of different frames. So I drew a particle texture that has a couple variants of blobs here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 5 different blob shapes. And then you can use the particle animation system to either have the particle cycle through these shapes, or you can have it choose one of these shapes at random. And so that gives you the ability to have a particle system with a bunch of differently shaped particles, so that it just adds variety. And then of course the other things that you can do are always apply a random rotation to at least the initial start of the particle. You don't have to animate its rotation if you don't want to, but randomize its rotation so that it starts in a different orientation every time, and just apply randomness to its velocity so that each particle moves slightly differently, randomness to the scale so each particle is slightly differently sized. That kind of stuff can really help a lot. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Some of your scripts have a node attribute. Is that your own custom attribute? Yes. Yeah, so what that node attribute does is it allows me to automatically assign that member. So the member that has the node attribute will be assigned the value of the node that matches the member name. So it's just the easy way of quickly getting node references. Hello, Makolko. How can I ask, how did you implement those circles that show the incoming attack? Like, how did you achieve that they are connected together as single shape shaders? Yes, so it's a shader, but the way that it works is that I use the built-in drawing functionality of Godot to draw circles, for instance. So I draw a bunch of circles on the same node or on the same layer, and then I apply an outline shader to that. So you can imagine a bunch of solid circles are being drawn, and that creates like Venn diagrams, right? It creates like circles that are kind of like meshed together, and then you outline that whole thing with an outline shader, and that way you're not outlining individual circles, you're outlining the entirety of the cumulative shape that's being drawn by each of the individual circles. Does that make sense? That helped a lot. Thank you very much. You're welcome. You are welcome. I need oil. I actually have never been excited to get oil, but I've got this ricochet that I want to use. So I gotta find some oil. I don't know, how are we feeling about the new reload system? I can't decide yet if I like it, because I'm so used to the other system. It does make weapon swapping a little bit more interesting, because now I have to be cognizant of the timing. But I feel like it's something that would require a lot of like UI cues and whatnot to help the player out, which is not a bad thing. But I think I would need to put in more work into this prototype here to really figure out if it's useful or if it's cool. Ooh, glass cannon. Set max health to 1, increase stamina by 3, and deal 50% additional bullet damage. Slide into the DMs. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna take glass cannon. Boom. YOLO. Which means my berserk passive is completely useless. Actually, the thing about glass cannon is it doesn't permanently set your health to 1. So you can increase your health after you take glass cannon. So I think that's fine. But now I'm going to be doing so much damage. Oh my gosh, one-shotting everything. Let's go. Well, not the spider. Ooh. Yeah, see, I'm out of ammo on both guns. I gotta wait for the reload. Okay, 2 seconds might be a little bit much, but I could resolve that with a meta upgrade. I don't know. I think I'm liking this reload system, honestly. The more I play with it, the more it's like it's making my choice of which gun to shoot more interesting, I think. I just need to, like I said, I need to add a bunch of UI indicators. Maybe Be the Fuse will become more interesting now as well. I could probably remove... I could remove the cooldown on Be the Fuse, because the reason that Be the Fuse has a cooldown is because when you could just spam left and right to shoot both guns, you'd be able to spam the explosion. But now that both guns have a minimum reload time, I think Be the Fuse, and it reloads in full, then Be the Fuse probably doesn't need an internal cooldown. So I like that. I need oil. Give me oil. I would have taken Phantom Gun. I don't like to be at 1 health. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be... Hopefully this game can cater to a bunch of different playstyles. Like, I usually take the Phantom Gun, but since Glass Cannon is a brand new passive that I haven't play tested before, I wanted to take it. I probably wouldn't take Glass Cannon either, to be honest, but... It is my duty and obligation to test my game. I'm liking how this is feeling, though, honestly. I think it's kind of slowed down a game a little bit. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to do a lot more testing. I like the direction that this is going. Blood Brothers, nice. Slide into the DMs. Let's take it. Bone magazine. See, the fire rate is 8 on this one. But I gotta take the more damage. Oh, oil, there we go. Now we got Ricochet. Nice. Okay. Ooh, I forgot that slide is lasting longer. Woo! Oh, that's funny. Can't catch me. Woo! Now having the dash reload passive would be really nice. Man, do I like this new reload system? Do I like the new reload system? Gain 2 health but lose 20% movement speed. Increase movement speed by 25%. Ooh, do I do this one? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. It's because I still got glass cannon. Ooh, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. I can't tell if that ricochet is working, but... Zap, okay. I preferred the old reload mechanic. I like that it requires user input. I think a part of you does. Yeah, it's growing on me. I mean, it kind of is growing on me. I do like the old reload mechanic too, but I don't know. I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm moving so slow because I took the freaking beefy passive and now I can't move. It's okay. I've got the dash. That's my get out of jail card. Oh my goodness. Man, this game's ridiculous. Bloated. Enemies that die from poisons damage over time explode, dealing 30% weapon damage. Do I have poison? I do. Give me that. Actually, let's swap those. Put poison on both guns. Bleed is a good one. But I'm going to sell these. If you keep the old, like you said, just user education is some audible sound or visual indicator that you need to switch. Yeah. I mean, there is a audible thing. I guess it's not very obvious though. There's like a click that plays. I don't know. Anyone else have any opinions on the reload mechanic? Yeah, there's a tick, tick, tick. Yeah, exactly. Rat King. Woo! Gotta use my dashes strategically. Ooh, I almost dashed right into danger there. I'm out of ammo. Whew! Oh no! I dashed right into a cheese meteor. That was an interesting run. I was all kinds of over the place on that. To me, it seems like dumbing down. I wonder if there's a best of both worlds situation here. The other thing that I like about the auto reload timer is I think it gives me more opportunities to develop more interesting passives and affixes around reloading and stuff. Because I could imagine like an affix that like, I don't know, just to be super generic, but something that's like, oh, like your weapon emits an explosion around you when it reloads, you know? Or, you know, a passive that when both guns become empty, something happens, you know, which is not possible in the current system. A passive to add auto reload. Yeah, that could be a thing. It could be a thing. I'm gonna have to think about it. I'm gonna think about it. I like certain things about the auto reload system, and I like certain things about the old reload system. So I'm gonna create a branch here. I think what I'm hearing is that there needs to be something more interesting about the reloading system. So I wonder if there's like a middle ground I can find here. Player education is definitely something that I need to do regardless. Discard changes and reload. Reload has always been a penalty in games for the most part. Some games have done offhand reloading really well too. I think this bolsters your previous mechanic if your reload time is high. What do you mean by the previous mechanic? Encourages the user to switch if they are in trouble. Yeah, lots of thinking to do. Lots of thinking to do. My indicators are bugged here. Why is that happening? If you keep clicking, the gun doesn't reload, or is that kind of how it works already? So if you keep clicking... The gun doesn't reload unless you... So in this system, the gun doesn't reload until you shoot your other gun. So the way it works is that shooting a gun reloads the opposite gun. Maybe add a menu option that users can try and report back on. That's an option, yeah. I wonder, hold on a second. There's something wrong with my pooling of these text float items. It keeps bugging out. Add a poll in the community tab of the Steam page. It's a good idea as well. Yep, I just need to think about it. I think I'll need to probably play around with it some more. I don't know why that shouldn't be yellow. That's so annoying. This number here, that should be white. I'm literally doing everything possible to force that to be white, and sometimes it just decides that it's going to be a different color. See, look at that. I don't know why that's happening. It's setting the color here to white. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. That's a weird bug. I keep trying to fix it and it doesn't work. Why is that happening? Damage float. Create or use damage float. Spawn text float. It's getting it from the pool. Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It's bugging me. Honestly, I like the way the reload is currently. I feel like it helps make both your gun choices important. Okay. For pooling, are you just doing a floating text manager that manages like 16 to 32 packed scenes? Having a new text replace the old text if max cap is reached? Yeah, it's something like that. The way that the damage works is it keeps a reference to the damage float. So like this number, this white number here, and every time new damage happens, it just restarts the animation with the new text. But in terms of like the scene pool, yeah, there's like a certain number of like a max amount that are saved, and they're not packed scenes because I'm trying to avoid instantiating scenes. So they're already instantiated. They're just removed from the scene tree as like orphan nodes and stored in a queue and then re-added to the tree. So they're not actually being reinstantiated every time, but there are a max number of orphan nodes. So I think the default pool size is like 50. So if, you know, the pool size would exceed 50, then it just freeze the text float. So yeah, this is like super messed up. I don't know why that's happening. So like in this case, now it's not even working. I think it's related to this current damage float. Is inside tree. Yeah, I don't know. So when return to pool is called, it's killing the tweens, resetting the accumulated damage, setting the color to white, calling add to pool. It's removing itself from the tree, so it should no longer be in the tree, and then it's adding it to the available objects, which is the queue. Maybe it's because maybe there's just a timing issue. So it could be the case that the current damage float so this is getting returned. Okay. Do I need to do this? Current damage float. I think what's happening is that this health component is keeping a record of, it's storing a reference to a text float. And since text floats are being reused, that text float may end up being used in a different context, but this still has a valid reference to it. So I think the problem is storing this long-lived reference in the health component here. So I think what I need to do is I need to fix this somehow. I need to like remove the reference when the damage float leaves the scene tree. Hopefully I didn't add a can of words to the current mechanic. I think keeping true to your original envision important. No, I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, I think it's valuable to test that. I do like certain aspects of the auto reload, but I'm trying to think if there's ways that I can take that and apply. I think what needs to happen is that the reload system just needs to be more interesting generally, and I think there must be a way that I can accomplish that within the current system. But yeah, I mean it's good to think about these things, so no worries at all. So I need a way of breaking this reference here when the current damage float is returned to the pool. Because I could do this. I could say current damage float.connect node.signalName.tree exited. Could I do this? Text float. The problem is that I'm going to be connecting potentially multiple times. Yeah, I'd have to do a check here, which I don't really want to do. Is there an easier way of breaking this reference when the tree is exited for that text float? I can just move everything to the floating text manager, I suppose. Dang it. Oh, man. Floating text manager, create or use damage float. I mean, the other thing I could do is create like dictionaries in here and map them. Do I want to do that? It would be something like private static dictionary node text float. Node to text float. Something like this. Private static dictionary text float node text float to node. And then what I would do in here is instead of passing in the text float, I would take a node like an owner here. Maybe I should just use the owner property, but maybe not. So we'll do this. So we'll do node to text float dot try get value owner out var text float, or we'll call it damage float. Damage float nullable equals spawn text float. Then what we'll do is we'll say node to text float owner equals damage float, and then text float to node text float damage float equals owner. So we'll just map those both ways. Okay, but that doesn't really help me, does it? I don't think that helps me at all. Scene pool. Because I need to be able to... Okay. Why is this so tricky? Who was asking me what the trickiest bug was before? Like, it's stuff like this, where it's like, it's not even that tricky, it's just annoying because now you've got to store all this data and like connect a bunch of things together to keep track of stuff. And it's not even going to work. It's not even going to work, I don't think. Because I need to remove these entries now when the text float, when the damage flow. Okay. I guess what I can do in here is I can do a signal. Public delegate void returned to pool event handler emit signal name dot returned to pool. And in my floating text manager here, what I'll do is I'll do this. Var was null equals damage float equal null. If was null, damage float dot connect text float dot signal name dot return to pool callable dot from Can I make this a static thing? Or callable.from, boom. Private, static, void, on text float returned to pool, node owner, text float, and then in here, oops. Node to text float dot remove owner text float to node dot remove text float. All right. Wow, this is like way too much, but that's all right. Let's assign these first just in case. Okay, well, I have no clue if this is going to work, but now, instead of doing all this, creator use damage float, I'm just going to pass in this. And I don't actually need to do that anymore. So now all of that's being managed by the floating text manager, which is probably more appropriate. All right, let's see if I horribly broke everything. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. It's creating new floats for some reason. Why is this not working now? I have to view this. Okay, let's run this. What a very it's just dumb bug to eat up time, but it was really bothering me. So hopefully this fixes it once and for all. Where is the node to text float? Okay, so those are empty now. Why is stuff being removed? Okay, something went wrong here. On text float, return to pool. Oh, my mind is spinning. I don't know why this is happening. Oh well. It'll get fixed eventually, I'm sure. It's like it breaks after I have a certain number of nodes in here. That's really interesting. Why is this happening? Oh, I'm about to lose my mind. We're gonna use some good old print statements. Oh, you know what I need to do? Oh, I know what I need to do. I know what's happening. This needs to be a connect, like a one-shot connection, I think. One shot, so it only is going to listen to that once. I think that's what was happening. Because these things, again, are long-lived, the connections don't automatically disconnect. So when return to pool gets called multiple times, that ends up being a problem. Yeah, so now it's just a one-shot connection. Okay. I'm gonna call that good. That looks like it's working. Nice. Okay. I think that's working great. Finally fixed that bug. Whew. Fix bug with damage float. Okay. All right, well, that was quite a detour, but I think, yeah, I think that was good. All right, so that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, as always. And yeah, I'll be continuing to work on Gunforged content for this week's streams. But I'm going to spend the rest of the day now working on the new devlog that will probably be releasing maybe early next week. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, please go wishlist Gunforged if you haven't yet. I just updated the Steam page this morning with a new trailer and everything. You can also purchase my Udemy courses if you want to learn how to build a complete game in the Godot engine. And all the rest of the ways you can support me are in the description below as well. So all of your support is greatly appreciated. And thank you again, everyone, for being here. And I hope that anyone celebrating Thanksgiving has a good Thanksgiving. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. All right. Bye-bye.